Python, a very popular coding language used by a lot of people, and I'm sure some of you guys. If you haven't used it, I'm sure you've heard of it. I've been trying to get into it for a while now, and I did it. I got into it about 2 months ago. These recordings that you're about to see were from 2 months ago. I just forgot about them until now. So let's jump right into it and head right on in.
First thing that I had to do was to make sure Pygame was working. I did that by making a window and loading a picture of Porty onto it, just to not only make sure it's working, but also know if I could do it. And turns out I could. Next thing I did was I made a square and I moved it around. But something tells me there's a bit of a bug. And I was right. I don't know if you can notice it. It's not very noticeable, but I assure you it is there. So I stopped that little trailing effect. I even made the box smaller and have a different color. I still thought at this point I was going to have like just boxes, different colored boxes as the player and the enemies. I also changed the background for that reason so it wasn't as harsh and softer on the eyes. At this point, I actually had a game idea that I wanted to do, which was make the simplest shooter possible, where you're locked to one axis in one position, and you shoot targets out of the sky. Uh, Again, I'm still pretty new to Python, so I wasn't really expecting much. I then added a sprite, which I think looked pretty cool. It was a little spaceship, because I knew space. Yay! Which I think this looked pretty good, but a problem come up that I'm going to explain later. And later is now. As you could see, I made a little mistake with the pixel size. I wanted to change that, so I did, and I made this crappy thing. So bad. Like, what was I thinking? But I did make this pretty cool background, which I actually do really like. It looks pretty fun and cool. And then I made a scrolling background texture, which is easier than I thought it would be. It basically just put the texture on top of the other texture and make it go down. Who would have thunk it? That was so hard to implement. I am being sarcastic. I couldn't tell if you guys could tell. After this, I actually made the bullet shoot, but I had a problem where if there was already a bullet and then I pressed space, which shot the bullet, it didn't work. So what I did is I quickly fixed that bug by adding one line of code. Can't remember what it is, I don't care to check. But then I realized you could easily just spam it, so I had to fix that. So I fixed it. I made him shoot slower and then even slower. This may be a little too slow. I also added screen wrapping, which, like a lot of this game, I thought would be harder, but then wasn't as hard as I thought, which was a nice, pleasant surprise for me. I then decided to add the enemies, because what was there left to do on the player? Animations? Ah ha ha ha. Good one. So I made a quick sprite for them, which is also a pretty good sprite. I really just hate the player sprite. And then I made them spawn on the screen and fall down. I then realized they were already pretty fun to shoot, so I just spent a while doing that. I then made the ability to murder them in cold blood. Murder, woohoo, let's go. Which was pretty needed for this game. I then also had an idea. Make sure they spawn above the screen, and so they don't actually appear on the screen. They were just kind of teleporting in before, which I could have made work by making a particle system and a sound, but no sounds and no particles. The most bland game ever. I then added a score system, so murdering them will actually have a purpose. But is it worth it? John, I'm talking to you. Was it worth it? Was it worth it to kill all those folks? All those little aliens who just wanted to give you a high five? Was it truly worth it? I think you should feel bad. Also, I think this joke is going on for a little too long. I then made it so when they made it past you, you died. So you now have a reason to kill them. John, you are no longer a murderer. Congratulations. How do you feel about yourself? After that, I did a little touch-up work. I changed the font. I polished some things. I fixed some bugs. When I say fix some bugs, I mean fix the bugs that I knew how to fix and wanted to fix. I also changed up the game over screen. I made it look better. I had to get pixel distances. Yay! Fun. Other than that, I didn't really do much with this game. I know this game was pretty disappointing. This was just my first time using Python, and I'm still a pretty new programmer. But if you want to look at the code, it's on a public GitHub repository, which will be in the description below. I couldn't figure out how to export it, at least to Windows, since I'm on a Mac. So I can only export it to Mac. And you can't export Pygame to browser, which is dumb. So what I did was I just made a GitHub repository, and you guys could go set up Pygame yourself and play it. That's really all I have to say, so have a good one, and goodbye.